because it like stopped showing.
Yeah, it goes bananas.
All right. Hey everybody, we're the retail team, and Andrew's going to kick us off on what we did this sprint. There you go.
Yay. Okay, so it's been quite a while since we did a demo. Most of the company has not been with us since the last time we did it, actually, so it's time to update on what our team's been doing. So we lost. Are you talking about that later?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Anyway, we did, like, our team changed and stuff, and so we decided to kind of take a little bit step back from this and relook at this application and how we were doing it. And if you know anything about the retail store, like, it was working, but we just kind of lifted code from the cell tab that we built previously and put it in here. So it was due for a pretty good refactor. And so we've spent a lot of time kind of working on that and reworking the way that the flow of the store works. It's a test.
it's Doge.
Okay. Let's see here. Is it all right if I make this bigger? Or does that go out of the share or something?
No, you can.
Okay. All right, cool. So currently we have the store set up kind of to mock like a Google Play sort of experience. And we've used all of our customization stuff. None of this stuff is really hard coded into the site. It's set up with the customization tools that we already built. So as the store is a total white label thing, like we've been able to theme it like this for a Google Play sort of a scenario. And you can drop in all kinds of custom stuff in here and text and all these sorts of things and match fonts, and there's a lot of cool stuff that we've been able to do. But the main thing is the purchasing workflow. We kind of changed how this works. It used to be sort of a single big long thing that you went through, but since we're going to end up with this in the hands of clients and stuff, there's like sort of a mental model that's a little bit different when you're purchasing things. And so one of the key things was kind of breaking this down into stages, so you kind of work through things in a linear way, at least in your mind. And so what we did is we rebuilt the sort of first stage, which is picking your product, because that's the first thing you want to get into the client hands is the products, because that's what they want to see, is a gallery of items that are available. This is still here. Available to choose from. And so we have this totally different gallery, which just kind of gets that stuff up front into the user right away. Let's see what else we have here. And we make it really kind of quick and simple to get back and forth. You get into this next stage where you're kind of setting up the product itself, but you can quickly kind of jump back and forth between these zones. And you can see how that sort of works. Custom image upload is for someone else, I think, so I won't get into that quite yet. But anyway, you'll notice a bunch of like kind of similar looking stuff from what Lauren and the other team have done in the what's it called? Incentives application. I can't think of it for some reason. And that's because we're using a shared code base now for a lot of our design resources. The design system that we're building is kind of like a big collection of CSS modules and stuff, and a lot of the things govern forms and error fields and various components and stuff like that. And a new component that we made here is called quick values, and this is a scenario where like there are set values that you may want to pick, or ones that we might just want to suggest to the user to get them quickly through something. And then you can actually go in and custom change this value as well to a different value if you want. And so there's certain scenarios where we have variable denoms where you can set whatever you want, but sometimes we might want to suggest something quick, so you could just go in here and be like, I want 100, add 100. And so there's basically the carrier up here that has the kind of card artwork and the to from message stuff, and then you have your sort of values and amounts there, and then you have who's going to be sent to. And one cool thing we changed here is that this doesn't actually ask you for anything unless you've changed the details that come with the account. So a big principle of store UX is not to ask for stuff unless you really need it. So we kind of like assume certain things, at least from the beginning. And I'm supposed to do that, aren't I? Let's see. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this is another cool thing that Brian and Matt and I think Ryan Joseph had some stuff to do. You see this kind of follows the sort of Twitter pattern where there's a certain character limit here, and this will continue to kind of wind down as you go, and I think it just stops. And we don't actually kick off an error because, I'm not do one more, because it's not really an error, it just kind of is, that's as many as you can put in. So that's kind of a cool thing, a way to validate that form without it being too annoying or in your face or whatever. Let's see here. Yeah, we went through quick value stuff. There's a lot of cleanup that's been done with the form validation and stuff as well. We put these messages into balloons so that there was kind of problems where like the error message would come up over other text in certain cases. So they're kind of now contained in a small thing. And we've kind of worked on better messaging. I think this will be like, yeah, invalid email, that kind of thing, which is cool. And does this say, no, it doesn't say invalid. That's interesting. Anyway, so that's some of that cool stuff. And then Matt is going to, oh wait, there's a couple other cool things that we changed as well. I guess I am supposed to show custom image upload. So yeah, so all right, we'll go upload a custom image, which this has external terms of service. So this will take you to the Google Play ones. But we also have a way to kind of drop this in here. If your client is set up, you get a little window here and you can look through it and check that off. That's kind of stuff that's pretty boilerplate for each account. We have the kind of fee ranges and various things. And then you can drop in any sort of image you want. And we handle super long file names. This just kind of runs off, and this is your uploader sort of thing here if you want to change that. And this is our custom image upload. And we cleaned it.
Stretch goal, by the way.
Yeah, we cleaned up this UI a lot. It used to be, there used to be like modals within modal windows, which was getting kind of out of hand. And the only thing we use modals for now at all, I think, is error messages. So that's been pulled back to like a different type of experience, which is a good thing for the user. There's just no sense in having all that sort of stuff. So there you go. There's our custom gift card, and to add it to the cart, I will pass the football to Matt.
All right.
Yeah, hit quantity 5. That's kind of a cool little.
Yeah. So before I move on to the cart, we're going to look at just a little bit of validation that we do to make sure that this is at least 10. So we have this UI basically honor those custom image fee tiers and those minimums, so that the validation can happen right here before the customer goes on, instead of after trying to submit an order, which is kind of a lame experience when there's another reason. So to this cart, and we've basically started moving all of our kind of design around the concept of this cart and adding items to a cart and then being able to manage them. I'm just gonna see if I can zoom in here a little bit. A little better? All right. So up here you basically have this summary of the different items, and you're actually able to go back and edit and update any of these things. Super quick, super easy, update. Bam. Can even remove. Just all right here. And we introduced the UI router into this, which basically allows it to be much easier for us to say, hey, jump to this page or jump to this page, which makes for just a much smoother experience. Because if I want to edit this, then I'm put back to right where all of the pertinent details are. And at any time, I can just say, oh, I want to go back to my cart. So like I didn't update, so the changes weren't saved. And this page also basically tells us the order summary, and also allows us to enter payment. And so this credit card widget is one of those things that is part of that shared design resource, the Nexus project that Andrew was talking about. And so it's fairly responsive. It tells you, what kind of card you have, and it has all the validation. This is something that in its previous iteration was a little interesting in its behavior a lot of the times, but it tells you, what's wrong with your card number, or yeah, like this is just not a card number that would ever exist because the LUN algorithm is just invalid. So as far as one that will actually work, hold standby Visa, and Visa doesn't have a 4-digit CSV. See. All right. The overlay?
The CVC tip thing.
Oh yeah.
It's also wrapped in there. Yay.
Nice little informational bubble. Before it was just super janky.
And that's utilizing Nexus, by the way, as well as the cart stuff.
Totally. And we also added the ability to have multiple recipients in an order. So I'll go back and add a new cart and just do some quick selecting here. And this drop down right here, you don't see the first time around. But now I can say, yes, send it to the same person, and just add it to the cart. Or if I want to send it to someone new, then I can do that pretty easily. So new recipient, then all these fields are blank for me to do, all of the important information so that the card actually gets to where it needs to go. Perfect. Okay. And there we go. So this is to a different recipient, first last instead of test test. And if you're like, oh, I screwed up, it's actually 101 Doe Street. If you're sending it to the same recipient, then if you do update one of them, then I'll update both of them. Yeah. All right. So now let's press the magic button and actually submit this wonderful test order. Yeah, and so before we had this modal pop-up that it said like, your order's complete, and it would be like at the top of the screen, and then it would redirect you after a couple seconds, and then you'd end up in this screen. So if you walked away and didn't have the order complete, so you'd just come over here and you'd be like, where did that come from? So we added this order complete, and it basically says what to expect next. And this is all customizable throughout the same customizing tools that we do all the look and feel as well. So it just says, you get an email and then just some payment instructions so that this order can be approved and then shipped out. But since this was credit card, it's already paid. So we can say, hey, we want to activate the cards now or maybe later. So this whole order screen was modified to fit in with the new flow and the new UI as well. So as you see, this order summary looks very similar to when we actually place the order. So just kind of that one-to-one correspondence, just making things more consistent, more straightforward. And less repetition in code, yeah. Yeah. Anything I'm missing? So I think, yeah. I think we're good. All right. Hand it over to Brian Joseph for one more feature and customization, actually.
So there was a request to not allow users to edit recipient information unless it's been, reviewed and approved by the account owners. So to do that, added a customization feature to make those fields read-only. And I'm just going to go ahead and enable that right now. if I can remember where I put it. So we want to make it read-only. And this looks a little bit better if we're not super zoomed in. But, so we'll go ahead and publish that. And we'll, well, actually this one doesn't have a user, so let's go to the actual site now and see what it looks like. Physical. Now you can't change them. So that's pretty much it.
So this is one of those orders that you just input, and because of your user access, you can't make a change to it?
So particular accounts, maybe Nam can explain this better, but particular accounts don't want people to go ahead and willy-nilly input a new recipient. They want to verify the address first before they'll send gift cards to it in bulk quantities. Is that about it?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's at the store level.
Yeah, basically, so that a corporate account user can only send cards to their address that they have.
Right, gotcha. And even with that, there would be like one user who could add new places that they could select to distribute to. I guess I'm not.
The account can have, I believe, multiple addresses associated with it. Right?
Yeah.
So later they can add another address if they want to send it to two different places. But
You just can't edit the current.
they can't like freehand an address and send it to some random place.
Basically, only address is tied to that corporate account.
Okay, cool. So I'm not going to show any of our, I guess I could talk a little bit about just, to do this, there's actually, so the whole flow of ordering an item, the way it was coded before, you know, we needed to do some things to restructuring some of the navigation so that, like, for instance, when you go, you add to cart, when you edit, like the button turns into something like update. So stuff like this where, you know, depending upon the context of where you're at in your order process, you know, things change, right? And so rather than having code that's like nested in there, it says, if it's this, do that, you know, we moved a lot of that code out into a UI router where we're wrapping some of the state of the items that we're editing. Anyway, this is pretty cool. So I've got kind of like a low-tech slide thing that I wanted to do, just like a few quick things. So we're the retail team, as we probably forgot to say. But the retail team in the last month, it's been kind of interesting. There's been a lot of change. The biggest thing is that we've lost some people for our team and some major contributors. And so I think that definitely seems like there's been a perception of like, well, how well is the retail team going to be able to do like without some of our you know, our code machines, right? And I'm happy to tell you guys that looking back through our backlog, we've actually completed the most features this last sprint than any of the previous sprints since we got onto the new tracking system. So that was really cool. It's not something we were like shooting for. It just sort of happened, and I think it's due to us as a team really getting a chance to work together closely in Mob and Mindshare and try to figure out how to tackle some of these problems in an intelligent way. By the way, that's like nearly double like the other highest score from when we had like a full team before. So I thought that was really cool. That's definitely by points. And so the last sprint we completed 39 points worth of features. Some of the features that weren't part of the B2B store were the Burger King gift card portal customizations, and we also did the desktop certification for Google Wallet. We did a bunch of bug fixing. So we fixed 33 bugs in the last month since we lost team members. One of the things that we did early on, is we when we knew that the stories that we were having to tackle were going to change really the flow of the application and really try to set us up to have, you know, be able to maybe customize some of the modals and the flow of how you order an item. We recognized that there's some things we could do to restructure the composition in order to support those types of features. And as a team, we worked through a lot of those things, and I think there's a lot of good things that happened because of that. So one of the things we did is we had a ton of branches, and we've been able to close those down to only 3 branches in our source code, so that's much easier to reason about, and there's not like features like hidden other places. So a lot of cleanup for our team, just giving us some clarity there. Using Nexus, we were able to remove about 800 lines of code from our application, which just means that you know, as Nexus is used by more of the teams, we'll be able to share bug fixes and have less bugs like internal to the applications that we're using. So like the credit card form, the cart, a lot of those things are Nexus components that are going to be able to, we're going to be able to share. In fact, for the cart thing, we're planning on using some of the stuff the incentive teams built. So that's pretty cool. We changed around some of the architecture of mostly there was like a lot of composition. It's like we had views responsible for telling you where you would go, and we had a lot of delegation between controllers to other code. So we did a few things. We used UI router. We also pulled out a lot of the navigation into what we call a navigator, which sort of keeps track of like reference data, so that you know, it just allows us to have less bugs and not try to keep track of state everywhere. We also moved logic from our models. That reduced a lot of the mocking that we had to do in our test code. And when I measured, it looked like we had eliminated about almost 2,000 lines of code just from our tests. And so you're probably thinking, well, you guys probably just deleted a bunch of tests. But actually, we improved our test coverage to 97%, where it was previously at 91%. And this is all after we had lost members and had been working just as a team. So I think it's really cool. I'm really proud of our team. One of the things we did that has never been done is we prioritized our backlog, which you know, before you know, we had things on the backlog, and we would work off that, but it was really unclear sort of where we were headed, or it didn't really tell a story, and we had several queues. We've narrowed that down to 1 queue, and we've got it so that we're actually working off that in the order of priority of what you have there, and that should be fairly reflective of our goals and what we're trying to do. So if you wanted to check that out, you could. One of our big goals, and what we mostly demoed here, was the B2B Store MVP, and we took a big chunk out of the MVP this last few sprints. And here's some of the stuff we have left. So, are there any questions? Yes?
First off, this is awesome. I think it looks really, really good, and it's obviously a significant improvement over the things I've seen in the past, so that's awesome. But I'm wondering how we, from an operational perspective, how we implement this stuff. I'm wondering, like, are those images pulled from the image repository similar to the way they are now? Like, is the, you know, you've mentioned how now this is more client-facing, and I assume that they're going to be able to customize it in quite a few ways themselves, but they're going to have to reference, I assume, data that's configured within our application.
Well, I mean, so to customize, you use your back office login, right? And what's that? Is it not going there? Okay. Ah, thank you. Good catch. So, you know, the back office login is how you manage the B2B store. And when you go to the customize screen, you know, a lot of this stuff, like, we've got full URLs, so you're not limited to just, you know, stuff in our resource, image resource stuff. So yeah, so they can have all their own hosted images and have those displayed in the B2B store.
Okay, that's
so
awesome.
So that's right here. Like, for instance, this image URL here for the logo, this is it. It's a full URL. If you wanted to change that, it's pretty easy.
Okay, so same thing with the content that you see there on the bottom left and right.
That's right.
And then I guess what I'm asking, this is obviously great. simple. It puts a lot on their shoulders, on the client's shoulders. I still would want to know, how does this change how we operate?
Notice it's updating.
Yes, I did. That's fantastic. I like it. But do you get what I'm saying? Like, how does it change how we operationally?
I think there's more work to do in the customization. And you know, honestly, we're trying to get to MVP, and there's a lot we're going to learn about how we do that. And so we're trying to put ourselves in a position where we can iterate quickly and change to make that easier to use, more intuitive, something that's I think our ops people can tackle. So.
For the product alone, you use the enterprise API for placing orders using enterprise API.
Yes, we do. So everything under this is using enterprise API for getting the brand data for yeah.
Okay, so if I'm saying it's
exactly like premium. The process for your team is going to be exactly like you do it.
So we would have to create premium account.
Premium account, but like you create a business unit in the same way that you would.
So it's actually, well, okay. So what I'm hearing from John is that I build this like me API account, basically like a channel, and I give it a bunch of brands or a single brand, and I set it up in here. Now what you're saying is that this is like premium, which gives us a whole different layer. We have to go through the gift offering, and then we have to do click on the link that says create a.
So that's what it is.
Shopping cart, resources, yeah, all that stuff.
So that's what it is.
It's only what those things does.
Okay, so shopping cart resources would still be necessary.
Currently.
Shopping cart resources are not. Shopping cart resources are in this new UI.
Perfect. That's what I'm looking to understand. So now, you know, we're plugging in payment gateway, everything down to the gift offering level.
That's all the same.
We've removed that other layer of premium.
Resources, but not config.
Yeah.
So the look and feel is configured via this UI. Yeah. But
in the content.
The underlying infrastructure, like payment gateways, gift card processor, that's all inventory.
So if
I think we should.
That premium setup part, you've done me a big favor. So that's
okay.
huge.
Well, I think what we should do is set up some time afterward to go through it, so you get it. Just because there's probably a lot we can figure out there.
Do we plan on having people, our customers have access to this, the configuration part of it, or are we just going to use this as a tool to help us configure it first before we actually turn it on?
Right. Yeah. Right now, NOM is configuring a lot of this. You need a back office login. So, I mean, we are set up to, if they have back office logins, to take over doing that. But I don't think that's the plan right now. So, but to, you know, when this is like self-service ready, you know, sure. Cool.
So in the order summary, since we are supporting like multiple recipients, is there like also support for different delivery methods?
We purposely limited it to just one delivery method per order because we don't want to get in a situation where we don't have digital cards that we get delivered and physical ones that a payment type. So that's just interesting.
Are you talking about shipping method, or are you talking about packaging?
Shipping method.
Yeah. So we've got this shipping method, and that's going to be like per recipient, I believe. So you could have like different. You could have different shipping methods for different recipients.
Is the breakdown that we show and the summary?
We currently do not have that. Do we? I mean, it's represented in the money here. So.
Well, it's not represented individually.
It is not broken out in our summary now.
And also, it'll be nice to have the fee breakdown too. So what different fees.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Actually, fees do.
You've been asked for this, and people have complained about
if you click on with a fee, it shows up.
Again,
These aren't custom.
Okay.
If there were fees, we do
specific fees.
Any other questions?
What's your back
And this is for Andrew. Are you guys trying to make it touch friendly?
What?
Are you trying to make it touch friendly?
Oh yes, yeah.
I'm trying.
There's a lot of animations.
No, there's a ton of stuff that we'll do after MVP that we'll do a pass on responsive stuff. Actually, the only things that are not responsive currently are these these non-table views. You know, the rest of the site, if you go to like the image gallery and scale this down, you'll see it it switches for different modes and stuff like that.
You know, and to be frank, like we've been working on the B2B store, different iterations for years, and what we really need is to get it in front of people, have them use it, and then have that drive the priority of the stories we work on. So that's like the big thing that we need to do. Sorry, just like we're excited about having people use it. So yeah. Does it work? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually part of the UI router stuff. So, like, if you were to add like a new item, you add it to the cart, right? So see, we've got 4 items here. Use the back button, add to the cart. Still 4 items, and that's part of like pulling out. You know, there are classes of bugs that we were able to like get rid of because we manage our state through Navigator now. So the coding to this UI is like a lot more intuitive, and we just don't have to think about some stuff. So.
When do you think you'll be ready to put it in front of people, like operational people who can give you suggestions, like Satish and I were just talking about?
Yeah, we need to do that. So probably as soon as possible. We still have items that we need to do that are, you know, part of our MVP.
Yep.
So we're still sort of on track trying to get just the feature set in, but you know.
Yeah, I just think if you get in front of the right people and you can find some additional low-hanging fruit while you're moving towards the MVP.
I do know that we have been talking. Nam has been mentioning that we need to start pulling operations in to be able to figure that out.
I think
to operate.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
It's awesome, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
I still want to know what your passion is. Describe it. Nice. Oh my goodness. We're getting there.
Shoot, where is the freaking... Oh, there it is. Ah!
Hey, what's up, bro?